if you're new here, hi, I'm Jonah, the host of Moving Women Forward community podcast, with my mission to help 100 women in 100 days move from feeling stuck to empowered, amplifying their voices through expert-led support, visibility opportunities, and meaningful networking. Now sit back, grab your cup of coffee or your favorite drink, and be inspired to move forward in life and in business with our next episode.
Without further ado, this is my special guest, not because she's only special, but she is my wonderful client, a very respected leadership trainer who helps you redefine success on your own terms with purpose, balance, and authenticity. The floor is yours, Carla. Thank you so much for making the session today.
Well, thank you for being invited to join you in this podcast. It's absolutely exciting time. So, did you want me to say a little bit about me? I've been a psychotherapist for many, many years. And what I've noticed is the same pattern that's come up with women and women clients I've seen. So I've decided to join forces with my husband, who's been in leadership development for 18 years in large corporates. And we've now put together a development pathway for women that addressing a lot of the core issues that women still find in today's workplace. And so I was going to say,
Anything else you want to share, Carla? What's your mission? Tell us a little bit of your mission and what's your purpose with this.
So there's a lot of the gender stereotypical messages are still there. Even though we've come a hell of a long way, we still have a lot to go. There's still a huge gender leadership gap. For example, 48%, almost half of the UK workforce are women. But only 35% are in leadership. And actually, when it comes to senior leadership, we've got 12% with only 8% at CEO level. And that's a huge gap. And we really want to look at how can we empower women to bridge that gap and go take on more of those leadership roles, not from mimicking men, because that often happens. That women feel, because there is such in a male-dominated society, we feel we have to take on the male energy, the male traits to be able to succeed in a workplace, in particularly if there is a male-oriented workplace. And so we become, if I'm allowed to say, we become
Beep.
we become so the bit
We'll become a bit.
and it can be because we there's a lot of our own conditioning. It's still there at play. Messages we receive from early childhood, the what messages we receive from our mum, what messages did we receive from our fathers, that makes us into the girls, the teenagers, the women we've become, and the women then we go into the workplace.
Sounds good. Besides the beep, that's all good. Carla, I want to stop a little bit and go back to the 8% club. The 8%,
Yeah.
is that a UK
In the UK.
number?
Yes, so UK, the UK workforce is 48% are women, but only 8% are at that CEO level on the FTSE 350. And that's statistics that's available out there. And that's not a lot, even though you see a lot of organizations are employing more women in senior roles, there is still a big percentage of male dominated.
Would you think that we so this 8% club, right? This is quite alarming in my point of view. I would have never thought it's an 8%. I would have been into the point of 30. Well, I think hypothetically that would be the ideal number probably. I want to understand a little bit. Is it because of the way we are brought up? Is it because of society norms, or is it of the lack of a structure and support in place?
So all of it. So if you think of what messages did you receive as a child growing up, and I know I'm a lot older than you, so for me it was girls were become homemakers. I'm not originally English, British, I come from a Portuguese culture, and the message from my father was women were kind of low-level citizens, that men were the leaders, men were those that succeeded in business, in the workplace. And women were just there trained to become homemakers, mothers looking after the husband. It's like back in the UK in 1940s. So there is those messages that even now that, current generation of women in the workplace who are perhaps in their 30s, mid-20s, 30s, going to early 40s, there's still those messages that are filtered in through society, through unconscious social conditioning. And that social conditioning comes from family, society, sometimes religious, political, we so many layers that are there at an unconscious level that we don't notice it. And even households where girls or women have been told, yeah, you're a girl, you need to go out there, you need to get a career, you need to strive because you need to get independence, you can't rely on anyone else. So that often comes from a mother who's been dependent on her husband in a toxic relationship, who then pushes the daughter forward to strive to get a career. So instead, that support they're getting, it looks on the surface good, but underneath the message is you've got to stand on your own. You've got to do it alone. You've got to be completely self-reliant. You can't rely on anyone else. And so that community, the collaboration is not there because it's the fear of, I've got to do this on my own and I've got to be perfect and I've got to get it right. I can't fail. I've got to succeed. And then it becomes a whole cycle that gets pushed and pushed and pushed. And I've lost track of the question you were originally asked. So it's a sort of a combination of social and family conditioning. When you go in then into the workplace, you then have the messages there that women are the nurturers. They are the ones who support others. So women go into the workplace believing that you've got to put everybody else first, you've got to support others, and you're the nurturing, soft kind. I
Makes sense.
can give
Yes,
an
very clear.
example.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Please
can
do.
give an example on that one. I've worked on one of the participants on our pathway program. It was this woman who was in a fairly senior position in a male-dominated industry. And when a graduate joined the firm, she was given the graduate to look after, even though it wasn't really part of her remit, it wasn't really part of her department, because she was the only female. She had to take care of that graduate. And this is someone that never, it was actually a male. I mean, that was a little bit irrelevant to the graduate, whether it's male or female. But this is someone in his mid-20s who was more interested in going clubbing than doing the job, who wouldn't meet deadlines, wouldn't, because if he didn't know the job, didn't know the work, didn't know what he was meant to do, he wouldn't ask someone. He just didn't do it. So she was left as the one nurturing this person to pull along. It's almost like going on a weekly report like you do at school. It was a performance report, but it ended up being she became the nurturing parent, taking care of the child who needed to have this homework checked every day. So the work we did there was like setting boundaries. We went, whoa, hang on a second. Because her job, her work was being impacted by it. And so we worked with her setting boundaries to find her voice to say no, to actually treat the graduate as an adult, not as a child, and her being an adult, not as a parent, and creating that balance. That the end result is that the graduate lost his job because he wasn't actually meeting the criteria that he was employed for. But it meant that she actually set her own boundaries and said, no. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I think you also touched on my next question, really, about boundaries. We talk about so much in the business, the power of saying no or the power of saying yes when it's relevant to your work and to your goals. I want to connect it a little bit, to tie it up a little bit with the community, with the group. Do you think that these scenarios, they happen when there is no accountability, when there is no structure as such, or there's no community surrounding you? Community doesn't have to be mentors; it can be peers, it can be a community of like-minded leaders, because you're working in the leadership. So something like that, Carla. Is it something that we are missing here when it comes to boundaries? The lack of support and community and accountability.
So boundaries is an interesting one, because the boundaries are actually rooted. Learning to set boundaries is rooted in early childhood. It sounds like I'm doing a little bit of therapy here. So we learn to set our own boundaries early on from our primary caregivers. When we go into the workplace, and whether you have working in a community, so with people around you, whether it's a hybrid scenario, whether you're in a team, but when you're working in an organization, even people who are running their own business, setting boundaries is so important to have the capability of saying no. And the no can be said, I can't right now, but I can next week. Or I don't have, I'm fully booked today. I don't have the capacity for today. I can tomorrow, next week, whenever it is. And to also know, especially when you're in a team situation, when you get asked by different people, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do that? If you keep saying yes because you fear, usually the yes comes from a fear of losing your job, of not being liked, of being told off, of whatever. So it comes from the child self that we all, as adults, we all carry our own inner child. We end up taking on and on and on more and more stuff. And then it gets to a point you're absolutely on overwhelmed, can't handle any more, but you're still working all hours to meet your deadlines. Whereas it's so much easier to go, no, I can't with that. I've already got X, Y, Z. If you're talking to a line manager, you can say, if you want me to do this, what would you like me to let go or postpone instead? So it's about having that clarity. And if you are a solopreneur or running your own business and you're working at home, or you're still dealing with clients, you're still dealing with suppliers if you are providing a product, you're still dealing with people. And it's how you set those boundaries are so important. And it's actually learning to say, no, I was expecting this, and I noticed that that deadline hasn't been met, and it's the third time this has happened. What do we need to explore here? What do we need to look at so that it doesn't happen again? Or, no, I can't deliver that this week. I can next week, next month, whenever it is. Does that answer your question?
It does answer. I'm thinking about how your clients in this case, because we can take the example of client or in general entrepreneurs in general, really women in this case, because we are stuck with women. So that's our topic, and this is the podcast goal and mission of the podcast, to spread as much awareness and to help understand and to help our audience with practical steps that they can take today and not yesterday or tomorrow. Going back to the questions, Carla, so without wasting too much of your time, um, I've noticed in our community, you're part of it, you have seen it for yourself. You also see it with a lot of women that you work in the leadership area. But I want to understand a little bit. These women are feeling stuck. So they know something is not quite there. They are there, they're ready, but not 100% ready. Now, when they are into that wobbly situation, they are in the middle, right? How do they get from that old version that of the boundaries of saying no or the sacrificing or redefining success? How do they get out of that?
So
What can be a practical step action?
practical steps. So it always says start with something, with one thing. But first of all, is gaining clarity with what it is you want to achieve. What is it you want? So if they're stuck on something, so whether it's developing their own business, so what's the business goal? What's the having clarity of what they want to achieve, identifying where they are now, so they then know that a bit stuck. So what's one thing they can do today that will make some changes? And usually say start with 15. What can you do for 15 minutes today towards your goal? And because very often procrastination kicks in because you don't want to do the things that you should be doing, or so you kind of procrastinate and you leave, and because that stuckness gets embedded. So if you start thinking what's one thing you can do today, even for a minimum of 15 minutes towards bringing some change, and then you commit to doing 50, because 15 minutes is not a lot out of 24 hours, and often those 15 minutes expand to half an hour. They might be longer. It's the minimum of, it's not restricted to, it's a minimum of 15 minutes. Then you feel good. You've done that today. Tomorrow is another 15 minutes. By the end of the week, you've done 7 sets of 15 minutes. Or even if you're doing only a working week, it's 5 sets of 15 minutes. You're going to get, you're going to gather that momentum. But it's starting with one thing. And I don't know if you're familiar with Atomic Habits by James Clear, where he talks about habit stacking. So he's actually attach it to something you already do. So whether it's you have a cup of tea and toast in the morning, do your 15 minutes whilst you're having a cup of tea or straight after. And by doing that, there's a chance of, excuse me, there's a chance of progression, of change, of shifting, because by the end of a week, you're feeling different, you're feeling more positive because you've done something. So that momentum changes, and it can actually launch you into, all of a sudden, the stuckness is gone. That stuck feeling.
I'm gonna stop you at the 15 minutes, please. Not to be rude, but I so much the idea of 15 minutes. If you could kindly share it in the group, that would be amazing, because we want everyone in the group to get started and not procrastinate, ideally. With that in mind, a little bit of a plug promo here is the accountability sessions that we run inside the Moving Women Forward community. We we take action basically, and we keep you on track and what am I saying? I just said that. We keep you on track and we check the progress and we keep you accountable with the progress and everything else that is in the planning drawer. So we want that out of the planning drawer, don't we, Carla? So
Yeah.
those 15 minutes, they are top focus time, I guess. Do you want to share a little bit, if you have one tip or a few tips, how can we implement that 15 minutes habit? Because people procrastinate. I procrastinate. I was about to do something else today, and I shifted my focus into working on the masterclass and the accountability brainstorming session that we are going to have on Wednesday. But that's what it is. So how do we do that? That 15 minutes. How do we get
So
started?
So it's picking something that you already do, and I don't mean loading the washing machine or emptying the dishwasher. Talking about work related. So, and it could be like I was saying, you have a cup of tea and toast and then you log it on your computer. So it could be when you log the computer on, you catch your 15 minutes in that moment before you have a chance to start, searching through YouTube or losing track of time by scrolling in something that's completely irrelevant, because that becomes a great escape to go down that route. So it could be the moment you log on, the moment you open up your computer, grab your 15 minutes in that time. And because then it's the start of the day. Then you feel good because you've achieved something that you set out to do. Whereas we have a tendency to go for the path of least resistance. If there's something we really want, we should be doing, and we procrastinate, that thing gets left and left and left, and something else that's not important, that will take precedence. So in the 15 minutes is to bring the things that are important, slot them in that 15 minutes and go, okay, this might be boring, this might be, a bit frustrating, but hey, I'm going to spend a minimum of 15 minutes doing this, and then I'm free to do whatever else. And that makes a huge difference. Allocating that time, so that having the accountability, the group that you run, that I'm part of, the accountabilities, actually finding those 15 minutes to go, okay, what have I done? It's done. And then you feel good about it afterwards. And then there's a chance then of actually going to do something else that's equally important, rather than going, oh yeah, I'll just go and do something else, walk the dog,
Do a dishwasher
or do the
or the washing
dishwasher,
machine.
or scroll through Instagram, and
Absolutely.
yeah,
You
real
reminded me
brilliant.
of the dishwasher anyway.
Yeah,
Thank you, Carla. I talk about the dishwasher. I just mentioned it several times. It's a fun exercise that takes away your focus time, basically,
yeah,
which turns into the waste of those 15 minutes, because they are the core focus and what you were actually looking to build or to achieve within the day. I understand that
yeah.
very well. Well, Carla, we are at the end of our podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I've taken note of a few things if you have heard me typing in the background. So I will share more things in the group anyway. But for the audience, this is the space also for you to tell us if you're running any webinar, or you're doing a workshop, or you have something in the pipeline, or anything that you are wanting to share with the audience, where to find this information. You have the floor is yours, Carla.
Sorry, I
You can share it now if you want to, obviously.
sorry. Could you repeat that? I just went somewhere else completely. Would you
About
mind
the
repeat?
15 minutes focus.
I'm so sorry. Could you
I love it.
repeat the question?
Right. So you also, because we are at the end of the episode, you have the space now, please, if you want to share anything that you are running, like if you're running a webinar, a workshop, or any other information that the audience can find from you. You are free to and welcome to promote here, basically.
I wasn't paying attention there. Um, excuse me. We actually are about to launch a whole series of podcasts based on the pathway that we do. And at some point in the new year, we're having a new website, but we'll talk about that nearer the time. But for now, it's going directly to our website, which will give more information, which is all the W's, and it's asatoma.org, and that's asatoma.org. It gives more information about the pathway. And just one more little thing is, one of the feedbacks we've been getting about our programs, our pathways, women love it. And the message that women have been saying, this is great. We're bringing changes for ourselves. We're having an impact, but men are still stuck. Men are still doing in the same place, still doing the same thing. So in the new year, we're launching a pathway for men, which will be really interesting. That
Very
Um,
interesting.
yeah, and we'll
Very.
see. So we'll, watch the space.
It will be the school for boys and the school for girls,
For,
basically.
yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to hear more about the great work you are doing and you're going to do with the launch of this new pathway. Very exciting for you and for anyone in the field of the leadership and looking to gain some skills and be trained by not only talented but very trusted mentorship and training school, not school, academy that you are, like the proper
Yeah.
training. Well, thank you so much, Carla. I will pop the link in the comments for the audience to find more information on visit your website. Until next week, Monday. Actually, no, we've got another episode tomorrow at, I'm not sure now, I can't remember the top of my head, either 11 a.m. or 12 p.m., but please tune in